Creepy. Chapter 5. Furry and Flo sat in the laundry room for what felt like hours, staring at the crack. It was much bigger than Flo had first thought, at least a couple inches thick and nearly 4 feet long. The blue light shining through it was so bright that Flo couldn't see what was down there. "What's down there?" Flo asked. She squatted down and set her lunchbox near her feet. She reached out to touch the crack, but Furry swatted her hand away. "Don't touch it," he warned. "It's dangerous. It's probably dangerous." Normally, Flo didn't like some kid telling her what to do, but she let it slide. She was too mesmerized by the crack in the laundry room floor to say anything. After a moment, the buzz of a dryer interrupted their study. "Have you seen enough yet?" Furry asked. He stood up and started taking laundry out of the dryer. Flo squinted at the blue crack for another second, and then followed after her new friend. "Just when I thought this place was weird enough," she thought, "it gets weirder." "There must be a blue neon light or something in there," Flo said. "That's the only thing that makes sense." Furry pulled a bunch of socks and t-shirts out of the dryer and dumped them into a plastic laundry basket without bothering to fold them. He stuck his head into the dryer to make sure it was empty, then slammed the door closed. "Who'd put a neon light down there?" he asked. "That doesn't make any sense. Besides, it's not always glowing." "Maybe someone turns it on and off," Flo suggested. But she knew that didn't make any sense either. "Whoa!" Furry exclaimed suddenly. "Watch your feet!" He leapt up onto the washing machine with a single easy jump. Flo's mouth dropped open, and she stared at Furry in surprise. She'd never seen anyone jump so high or so fast. Looking down, Flo saw a herd of giant spiders skittering across the floor. They seemed to be coming from the spot behind the dryers, where the crack was. Flo stepped aside. She'd never been afraid of spiders, but it sure seemed like Furry was. "Oh, are you scared of spiders?" Flo teased him. "Of course I'm not scared of them," Furry said. "I just don't like them at all." Furry's eyes never left the creepy crawlies as they scurried across the room. The spiders seemed to know exactly where they were going, and they headed straight toward the door. Now Flo knew why there were spider webs all over the building. Corman Towers had a serious spider infestation. One more reason to move, Flo thought. Once the spiders had disappeared, Furry relaxed a bit. Even so, he never took his eyes off the door. "So, how long have you lived here?" Flo asked. "Since I was 5 or so, I guess," Furry said, hopping down off the washing machine. His bare feet hit the dirty, tiled floor with a loud slap. "I'm not really sure." "Has this place always been this weird?" Flo asked. Furry gave her a funny look. "What do you mean by weird?" he asked. "Never mind," Flo said. She blew a stray strand of hair out of her eyes. Maybe Furry was so used to living someplace weird that it didn't even seem weird to him anymore. Maybe someday she would get used to living there. That's a scary thought, Flo thought with a shudder. As she turned her head, she noticed more white, fuzzy things tucked away in the shadows. "What are those?" she asked, pointing across the room. Furry hunched down low and looked where Flo was pointing. "Those?" he said. His face looked a shade paler. "Those look like spider eggs." "What?" Flo cried. Her eyes grew huge. "Are you serious? Those things are enormous. There's no way they—" She stopped as something long and black tore through the white covering. One spider leg was quickly joined by 7 others. In seconds, a spider the size of a guinea pig tore out of the giant egg and stood on its spindly legs. It made a clack-clack sound as it crawled a few steps across the tile floor, heading straight for them. "Okay, I'm done with laundry," Furry said. Before Flo could move, the boy ran out of the laundry room like his tail was on fire. "Furry!" Flo shouted. She felt silly shouting that ridiculous nickname out loud, but she didn't think shouting Ferdinand would have been much better. She flew out of the laundry room doorway and saw Furry sprinting down the hall. "Hey, wait up!" Flo cried, chasing after him. Her lunchbox banged hard against her leg as she ran down the dimly lit hallway. More spider webs clung to the ceilings and dark corners. "This place is disgusting, even for a basement," Flo thought. "Why are there so many spider webs everywhere?" Flo was so busy looking around that she didn't notice Furry had stopped in the middle of the hallway. She slammed right into him, knocking him over and falling flat on her stomach. Her lunchbox flew out of her hand and clattered to the floor. "What are you doing?" Flo shouted, picking herself up. She hurried over and picked up her lunchbox, clutching it protectively to her chest. Her t-shirt was covered in dust and grime. Flo brushed it off as best as she could, but it was no use. She was filthy. "What am I doing?" Furry yelled. "You ran into me." He did a quick backflip to stand up, landing easily on his feet. Flo stared at him in surprise. "Geez, what are you, some kind of ninja or something?" she asked. "No," Furry said, with a quick, nervous smile and a laugh. "Don't be ridiculous. I'm not anything." Just then, a door at the end of the hallway creaked open. An old man wearing a ratty, faded green bathrobe and the thickest pair of glasses Flo had ever seen stood in the doorway. Wispy white hair stood up crazily all over his head. His mouth was puckered into a frown, and he held a silver tray in his hands. It looked like a TV dinner, and it smelled burnt. Hi," Flo said. The old guy ignored Flo and turned to Furry instead. "Ferdinand? Is that you?" the man asked, pushing his glasses up his nose. His tiny eyes squinted at them from behind the frames. "Hi, Mr. Rockwell," Furry said. "Sorry about the noise. We just saw some spiders, and Flo here got scared." "Hey, I wasn't scared," Flo protested. "You were the one who—" "Whatever," Furry interrupted. "Mr. Rockwell is the maintenance guy for Corman Towers." "Was the maintenance guy," the man corrected. "I'm retired. And please, call me Curtis." That explains a lot, Flo thought. No wonder everything in this place is such a mess. The janitor retired. "Oh, right, I forgot," Furry said. "Did they ever hire someone else to take your place?" Curtis laughed like he'd just heard the funniest joke ever. He bent over, nearly spilling his charred TV dinner onto the dirty floor. When he stood up again, he clutched his stomach. "Oh, that hurts," Curtis groaned. "Replace me? No way. No one else would ever want the job." Just then, Curtis seemed to notice the lunchbox Flo was still holding protectively against her body. "What do you have there, young lady?" he asked. "It's my lunchbox," Flo said, clutching it to her a bit tighter. "Whatever is in there sure smells better than my dinner," Curtis said, taking a step closer. As he did, Flo flipped the latch, just to be safe. "Do you know about the spiders?" Flo asked, trying to change the subject. "I think they're coming from the laundry room. There's a weird blue crack in the floor." "Stay away from that blue crack," Curtis warned. Behind his thick glasses, his eyes grew wide. "Just pretend it isn't there." "We should go," Furry suggested. He glanced nervously down the hall, as if he expected more spiders to appear at any second. "Come on, Flo." But Flo wasn't going anywhere without some answers. "What do you know about the crack?" she asked, nodding toward the laundry room. "I know I don't want anything to do with it," Curtis said firmly. He nodded at Flo's lunchbox again. "What do you have in there anyway?" Flo smiled. She popped the latch on her lunchbox and pulled out the turkey sandwich inside. "It's a turkey sandwich," she said. "Probably the best sandwich I've ever made. My dad always said to be prepared for anything, so I always make sure I've got an extra sandwich. You know, just in case." Curtis's eyes lit up and his stomach growled loudly. "Smart man," he said quickly. "I might be willing to share it with you," Flo offered, "but you have to tell us about the crack." She slammed the lunchbox shut. Curtis peeked out into the hallway and looked both directions. When he didn't see anyone else, he nodded. "Deal," he said. "But be warned, I am not responsible. Now hand over that sandwich." Flo opened her lunchbox and tossed Curtis the turkey sandwich. He quickly pitched his burnt TV dinner in a nearby trash can and snatched the sandwich out of the air. Pulling it out of the plastic sandwich bag, Curtis immediately dug in. "It all starts with this building," Curtis said, around a mouthful of turkey and bread. "It was built a long time ago, on top of an ancient seal." "Like a seal you see at the zoo?" Flo asked, frowning. "The kind that barks and eats fish?" No, Curtis said, shaking his head. "A seal like a plug. It was built to seal off a doorway into another world." "Another world? That's funny, Curtis," Furry said. He let out a fake-sounding laugh. "Come on, Flo. We should go. It's getting late." "In a minute. Geez," Flo muttered. She wanted to listen to the entire story. "Go on, mister." "The seal was strong enough to keep the creatures from that world out of ours," Curtis continued. "It held for centuries. But in the past 5 years or so, something changed." "What?" Flo asked, her eyes growing wide. She glanced over at Furry, who was busy fidgeting and biting his thumb. Maybe he was still too concerned about the spiders to listen to Curtis's story, or else he'd heard it before. "It cracked," Curtis said. "And now anything can come spilling through that blue crack you found. And stuff does. Terrible stuff. I've seen it all." "Like giant spiders," Flo whispered. "But what else?" Curtis shook his head. "You don't want to know," he said. "Besides, I've said enough already." Curtis crumpled up the now empty sandwich bag and tossed it into a nearby trash can. "It was nice to meet you, Flo," he said. And with that, Curtis closed the door in their faces.